Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys, back after a couple of weeks camping out in Washington and ready to dive back into the charts. We're going to check out our major sectors, where we stand. We got a hot PPI reading. What does that mean for the FOMC meeting in September? We'll look at some small subsectors where I'm watching for capital to rotate. We'll look at uranium, crypto stocks, commodities, etc. Shut up, let's go. All right, quick touch on the fundamentals, then we'll look at the previous price action while I was away and what we're expecting going forward. So essentially we had the revision of jobs numbers that led to the market saying, whoa, we're going to look for some rate cuts potentially sooner, potentially faster, and that increased probabilities for a September rate cut. Then we got PPI numbers that came out this past week. Whoa, those are really hot. And we're anticipating CPI is going to be hot as well. And so that then decreases the probabilities that we get a rate cut in September, though not as significantly as I expected. I do use this information to have a general understanding of what's going on, but not when I'm specifically placing trades. It has no basis. But I want to know going into the FOMC certain things. For example, I'll Google FOMC probabilities and pull up the CME Group website, and I'll look at what is the market anticipating. And so it's anticipating a 92% chance that we are going to get a rate cut in September, pretty much a month from now. Previously, that was all the way up to 96%. And then we had the PPI numbers and it dropped down to 92, but it's still high. I mean, a week ago it was at 89%. So it is still probable. And why I care about this information is because going into the FOMC, if we're 50-50, we're going to get a volatile reaction at 2 p.m. If we're 90%, 95%, and we get that 95%, we're not going to see a very volatile reaction at 2 p.m. The volatility will come when Powell speaks at 2:30 p.m. So it just tells me what to anticipate. It doesn't tell me up or down, doesn't tell me anything. It just tells me when to anticipate volatility and how much volatility to expect. So that's essentially how I use this fundamental piece of the puzzle. And again, I want to know what the narrative is, but that's it. Otherwise, it's just levels, as it always is. And so a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I made a video called Beware of the Sucker Punch. I cannot stress enough to watch Chart Guy's Sucker Punch webinar, because understanding this aspect of trading has saved me from fake outs countless times since I learned it. And I learned it just through observation. And again, the setup was when you're in bull complacency, full control, all-time highs, slow grind up, you get a fast, hard move down seemingly out of nowhere, which is the sucker punch. And we got that. You can see the NASDAQ in 2 days gave back multiple weeks of upside action. Normally, when I first started trading, first half of my career, I would look at that and say, oh man, that's the most bearish 2-day period that we've had in months. Things are shifting. The bears are proving something and they're taking over. That is not the case. What is happening is just a flush out of leverage. You get overconfident, over-leveraged longs. This resets the leverage, stops out a bunch of people that are, late or too big or whatever, and then resumes the uptrend. And again, you'll get all the details watching that webinar, but the biggest factor is once that low is hit, if you do not break it, we're going back to all-time highs. Again, a very simple statement, but the V-shaped nature of the sucker punch is what is so important about recognizing it. And so that's exactly what we had. And we could see it as it was playing out, back on Monday and then back on this Wednesday, saying this is exactly what a sucker punch would look like. Unless we're proven otherwise, we're going back to new all-time high. And so it's a nice ability to say, it's just pattern recognition. Okay, I've seen this dozens of times in all markets. I first learned about it in crypto, but it's very helpful. So we got the sucker punch and we recovered from it. Now daily consolidation, we're looking for a higher low. There's tons of space for it to form. When's the last time we've confirmed a clear daily downtrend with a lower high and lower low on this futures chart? And your answer is, we had a tiny one back here when we had all of the Iran stuff going on, not a clear downtrend. A clear downtrend, it's literally been since that bottom. It's been months. So again, it will stand out to me as meaningful when that happens. But what this sucker punch did, remember back in those videos where I was saying, and again, just go watch those videos just for a nice reference of, okay, now we saw how it played out. What were we looking at back then? But a nice reference point of we were just looking for weekly higher lows. Semiconductors are extremely due for weekly consolidation, a bunch of the NASDAQ names. And so with that sucker punch, we set an extremely quick weekly higher low, and now we're continuing. And so that is now the most important support level to me. From a midterm perspective, midterm time frame, if that low is support, the bulls are just fine. You can see that was a low. We held it again on the NASDAQ. We held it again on the NASDAQ, and we dropped right down to it. It's pretty much 4 bottoms right at that level, and now we're well above it. And so we're going to look for a daily higher low. And again, there is some rotation that is going on. You look at the S&P 500, and it's stronger than the NASDAQ. Quick weekly bull flag confirmed. Again, just to zoom out a bit, we know that in the future, the bears are going to confirm a daily downtrend at some point. We're going to be 5% plus off of the all-time highs, and everybody's going to be talking about a long-term top. And maybe, but I know that I'm going to be looking for a monthly higher low because we have tons of space for a monthly higher low to be the result of next consolidation. So putting myself mentally prepared for that is important. Doesn't mean anything now. I'm not establishing any game plans now. I'm taking it one day at a time, but I'm just reminding myself, this is what emotions are going to feel like. This is what social media is going to be talking about. This is what the price action is going to be doing. And this needs to be my mindset when that time comes. But we're not there yet. So the rotation that's been going on, most notably recently, is a little bit out of semiconductors, which have been consistently leading the way. And we had a big week for healthcare, UNH, we'll talk about that. And the biotech sector and small caps have been seeing a little bit of rotation. And so the big question for me, and again, I talked about, if you had a gun to my head and I was forced to short, it would be semiconductors. The sucker punch was nice, but again, very short-lived. And the semis are still bullish. We were weak on Friday. AMAT is a name that had earnings that were very bearish reaction to that earnings. And so that pulled back semiconductors. They're leading the pullback. So we can say we've been consolidating for the last couple of days to end this week. It's semiconductors leading the way down. Again, it's still an uptrend. The bulls are still fine, bigger picture. We got that quick weekly bull flag, but just the past few days, that's what's going on. And so I'm watching, are we going to rotate out of semiconductors and into small caps, biotech, and healthcare? That's the question I have that I want to have answered for the second half of August. And the answer is yes, that's happening right now. It's just a question of, is this the start of a longer term shift, or is it going to be very short-lived? And we don't know yet. Every single day is going to give us more information. But just on semis, NVDA, still holding on just fine. Definitely a resistance wall at that all-time high. Bulls have been struggling a good bit, 183s, 184s, but they are still holding higher lows. Again, just look at this daily EMA 12. If we're holding daily EMA 12, the bulls have complete control. We've been holding it since April 24th. May, June, July. That is almost 4 months of holding daily EMA 12. That's wild. But if we lose it, that's another little tiny point in favor of capital leaving semiconductors. MU had a great weekly higher low. Some bulls were on top of that. Still tightening up on the weekly there. AMD saw some rotation. But again, just keeping an eye out for any shift. Not much of one going on. But if you look at IWM divided by SMH, it's the potential, again, long-term downtrend. But I'm watching for the shift. IWM divided by SPY is really what I'm watching. Look at this sideways range. This is the weekly chart, and we've now been spending the last 4+ months sideways. And if you look back historically, you won't find a period where we've been this tight in a very long time. And just a quick measurement here. So we're within a 5.5% range. We were fairly tight back here, but that was an 8% range. So I can say this is the tightest we've been in years. And that tells me a lot of volatility is coming here. We tested resistance a couple days ago and failed. We're still range bound. This chart in the near term is going to convincingly break out or convincingly break down. We know the burden's on bulls. We know the focus has been on the Mag 7. Speaking of which, I keep coming across Twitter. It happened again a few days ago or a week ago where Twitter people are talking about the breadth and saying this is bearish because all the gains are concentrated in a few names. Every single time I see that narrative reemerge, the leg for the next move higher is the broadening out of the breadth and the shift into low caps. And IWM saw that in a big way on Tuesday and Wednesday. So again, just watching for that rotation game. But this chart must break bullish. If this chart breaks bullish, that tells me go time for low caps. And again, the largest sector holdings in IWM is XLF. But I've been noting that it's the biotechs that have been trying to lead the move in low caps. And so I'm watching the biotech sector closely. But again, it's all dependent on this. This has to break bull. And we're going to find out within the next month. This chart is very likely to break one way or the other. And again, just zoom out, 3-month time frame. It's been nothing but bears. But, are we going to get a few months of bounce on this chart where low caps are the place to be? That's the information I want over the next couple of weeks. The financial sector, the weekly chart, broke support with zero follow through, but it's getting a little megaphony. Again, whenever you break, this is another pattern that recognizing it helps save me a lot of money from fake outs. When you break resistance with no follow through and break support with no follow through in either order, you scout a megaphone. And so that's what we have right now. And XLF chopping around, still holding on strong overall, but if we were to drop back down and break 5105, that's a significant shift. And that would be monthly consolidation follow through. And again, at this point, it will not surprise us at all when monthly consolidation happens in any of these sectors after the V-shaped bounce from the tariff lows. But we don't have much sign of it yet. XLF is a place where it's possible that we get some signs of it developing. But if you are an IWM bull, you really want XLF to stay strong as well for the reason that I mentioned. But on XLF, we're going to look for a daily high or low, and we're range bound. We got a couple resistances, couple supports, and we are trading sideways. Healthcare saw the big rally. Healthcare has been our weakest sector. It looked like we were about to roll over. I thought we were about to confirm the monthly bear flag. And we saw the UNH news lead to a huge catalyst the last few days. Well, specifically Friday, but the bounce was underway in healthcare before that. There's a very clear resistance wall here as well. If bears are going to play defense, they're doing it here. You can see we've topped out here in the last 3 months, 1, 2, 3, 4 major times. And we're now testing that again, first thing to start this week. But the narrative with UNH, Buffett buying, Michael Burry buying, bunch of people buying, and super stack. We got that super stack, the weekly super stack right near the low. And again, I use the super stack here to help me find extremes. And, one of my best trades recently was looking at, there it is. One of my best trades recently was looking at energy. Energy had a daily super stack. It had a very significant recovery. One of my better swing trades ended 2024 into 2025. UNH had a weekly super stack. It did have another one here as well. I'm going to have to find the configuration to get it set. But anyways, the weekly super stacks have been working to mark those extremes, the absolute extremes near those lows. And so we got a big move on the Buffett buying. What we care most about is the high of that bounce, 326. And if we reject from that level, it's then up to the bulls. This reminds me of PEP. We've been watching PEP for that bottom. And I don't want to get off topic, but my brain always connects charts. PEP had an earnings reaction, similar gap up, and then it was the higher low and higher high. So again, coming from the bottom, balancing scales reversal, trying for a yearly higher low, big gap up, big move. So is this the big gap up, big move? Do we reject from resistance? And then it's up to the bulls to establish the new support, because we're not building support on UNH on the way up. Establish the new support into continuation for that weekly uptrend to continue on a name that's putting in a longer term bottom. And so bulls are hoping that UNH does that as well, where if we pull back from here, we've got to get into this gap fill. We got to get back 326 plus, 340 plus to be putting in that long-term bottom. The weekly chart is still a downtrend. Anything under 326.55 is just a weekly lower high. Potential little inverse head and shoulders type of setup. Long story short, we got to confirm a weekly uptrend to have confidence that a longer term bottom is trying to be set. Then we're going to go to the monthly chart, and we're going to have to do it on the monthly time frame. But bulls are hoping for a yearly higher low. The chart doesn't look so gross when you're on the yearly time frame, right? Oh, okay, so what? That's probably on log. Yeah, that's log. Looks a bit more significant when you're not on log, but either way, we're looking for a yearly higher low, anything above 173. And so, looking for the potential of long-term investment And again, my style is trading around a core and trying to keep a core long term. And so the volatility has been great to allow for that. So we'll see what we get in the short term. 310, 326 is resistance, 294 support. If that breaks, we go in the gap fill. Bulls really want to hold the back test of the EMAs into continuation. Got to prove an eventual weekly trend change. But XLV right at resistance. So if we're going to pull back, we need to see UNH divided by XLV continue this bottom. This relative weakness has to continue as relative strength. IWM, talked about it. Daily's just going to look for a higher low. So again, we did cool off a bit from the extreme strength Tuesday, Wednesday. We're back testing. If we hold this, that's going to be a great sign for the potential of rotation into IWM. So we're back testing previous resistance zone, trying to hold it as support. And of course, the goal for the bulls is all-time highs. That's up at 243, probably adjusted for a dividend. Yeah, 243 is if we're adjusting for the dividend. We got up to 231, so 5-6% away. Not massive for low caps, but hold the back test, set a daily high or low. IWM divided by SPY, break bull. These are the things we're looking for rotation. XBI. When I left for my trip, I say in the chat room, I use the words top watch. Top watch for me, I use sparingly because it means pay extra attention. And the two top watches were Ethereum for the weekly cup and handle, which followed through, and XBI for the weekly bull flag. And this ended up being a 4-hour falling wedge to set a weekly high or low, and bulls took over very quickly. Look at the move. I mean, look at your chopping around, and then big green candles closing up near the high of the day. And this is the highest close for the biotech sector this past week in 5 months. And so the weekly bull flag is confirmed. Bigger picture, we came right. Look at this 3-month support. You want to talk about long-term must hold? Look at this zone. Just for 7 years. Hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it. Granted, we're not going anywhere, right? This isn't a money-making sector, but they're playing defense. And we care, of course, about this wall of resistance in the low 100s. And we're range-bound. And, maybe we fail 105 and form a long-term lower high, and maybe we stay tight for another 5 months. That's entirely possible, but we can clearly say biotech sector is seeing rotation, while semiconductors and big tech, mags, hardly pulling back. Semiconductors pulling back more. IWM, XBI benefiting. Again, short-term recognition of this shift. Is it a long-term pattern? I don't know. Every day is going to tell us more information. But we know what to be watching for. And we know things are going to confirm our checklist or deny them to tell us we're right in what we're looking for or we're wrong. Tesla, weekly equilibrium had a bull break, but no follow through at the moment. This was tightening for a long time. And it's a little bit of a red flag. You don't want to close like that on the weekly bull break, but we also have to recognize to break the resistance, we did go straight up 17%. And there's no major red flag on this daily consolidation yet, but bulls need to set this daily high or low to start this coming week. If we retrace 50% of this move, it's a red flag because we're then shaping up to potentially just keep tightening up for a long time. And obviously the bulls want to set a quick higher low and continue to break out because we got a couple more levels if we're going to get back to almost high of the year. So keeping an eye on it. This is a back test. The 330s were very tough resistance. We got through it, and now we're trying to cling to that as support. Struggling to do so, but again, we're watching for Tesla to try and set that daily high or low real quick. Volatility is coming in quantum names. Look at IONQ, the sector leader. We have the all-time high. We pulled back just under it, and now we've got a weekly equilibrium. We've been going through earnings in this sector. The level I care most about for support is 37.25, and the level I care most about for resistance is 47.88. And we just topped out above that resistance. And again, for me, a monthly lower high is the most likely scenario, and it was set. You can look at this and say, well, this is a monthly cup and handle. And I wouldn't argue too much with you. It is possible. And you can look at this and say, we're about to see another leg down for a monthly equilibrium. Both are on the table. That's the theme of this video, right? It can go both ways. We are not predicting things. We are going to react to the information that we are given. And if IONQ breaks 37.25, we confirm the first weekly downtrend in months, and that tells us that we are likely to then see monthly continue to tighten up. So keeping an eye on IO and Q, RGTI, potential daily rising wedge. If we're going to set a monthly lower high, bears got to show up soon. Again, it's the same thing I've been saying for the last couple months of videos, or week plus or month plus. I'm looking for these semiconductor monthly lower highs, but if the NASDAQ stays strong, bears aren't going to get very far. If the NASDAQ weakens, this is a spot where I'd be looking for shorts because of the longer term most likely scenario. QBTS still holding on fine, but again, tightening up. We know volatility is coming. It's just a standard equilibrium tightening up. QUBT down near its recent lows, but again, still holding support. Bulls are still hanging on. If IONQ, the lead name in the sector, breaks bear on the weekly, that means RGTI is likely confirming that daily rising wedge. Again, this is where I'm looking short if we get weakness in the NASDAQ. If not, I'm not going to be trying hard to short and, possibly looking long if we break bullish out of that range. Elsewhere, we've got crypto stocks. So again, ETH had that beautiful weekly cup and handle where, we had the resistance from space that everybody's watching and a bull flag, and we shoot up 40% real quick. Didn't get that all-time high. We do have a double top at the all-time high, but 43% move, beautiful. ETHA has been a top watch for the ETF. And again, the individual names, BMNR, had a nice move off those lows. That was a falling wedge, just straight up. Again, lots of volatility. Straight up 136%. Again, bigger picture, unless Ethereum rips to all-time highs, and maybe even if it does, I'm looking for a tightening weekly equilibrium as the most likely scenario because anything under 161 is just a lower high. Daily chart, we're looking for a higher low. Bulls are going to hopefully set it soon. But again, if we retrace 50% plus, if we weaken, weekly tightening range. SBET, another similar name, is already in a longer-term equilibrium. We're looking for a higher low compared to 1709 to keep tightening up. Coin, trying to set a weekly higher low after a bearish earnings reaction. Got to be cautious because if we break to lower lows, pretty much, my mindset would be 293 needs to hold or it's a red flag. Because if that level holds, it's a weekly higher low and we're going to head back up to the upper 300s. But bulls need to get over this daily EMA 12 and recover. Bitcoin is giving us a little bit of a red flag. Weekly bull flag confirmed to all-time highs with no follow-through. I'll do a crypto update video on Monday. I did a cannabis video in itself, so if you're interested in cannabis and psychedelics, go check that out on the YouTube channel. But crypto is at a pretty important juncture with where we stand right now. Circle, bigger picture, I'm going to be looking for a monthly higher low. There's tons of space for it to form, but I'm being very patient. We're in a clear daily downtrend. We're weak. But watching for, I just know, again, put it in my mind. I will look for a CRCL monthly higher low swing position at some point. I'm going to keep checking in on it. I'm not going to try and nail the bottom. I'm waiting for a spot, and it's not set yet. So that's going to be something I'm keeping an eye on end of August as well. Not yet. Uranium. CCJ uranium leader. Tightening up. Most important support, 70.82. Most important resistance. Bulls have been struggling up at that all-time high. Bears are digging in at $80. We had OKLO, new all-time highs, but not following through. If we break 67.80 for OKLO, it will be the start of a shift. Again, my mindset is I'm not going to be comfortable looking for long swings in uranium unless it's a monthly higher low. OKLO just went 17s to 85. 350% or something. So I don't like the risk reward up here. It's the kind of thing where this is your superpower as a trader. This is either going to come to me and give me the monthly higher low that I want, or I'm just going to wave. Like, bye, money left on the table. I don't lose $1. I miss an opportunity, but it's not my setup. And when you have that kind of, when you don't care, that gives yourself all the power. I don't care if I miss, if we go to 100, it's just not my setup. And that's fine. It's a superpower. You're either going to give me the ideal entry or I'm not entering. SMR exited that swing trade Monthly consolidation, very close here. Again, we just run thousands of percent in these two names specifically in pretty short periods of time. I stopped out of my runner SMR position. Again, entry was back here. Sell some, and then I'm all out when the uptrend was lost. All out. Because I know how extended we are. Again, look at this monthly chart. Our last leg up, we just went 370% in 4 months. From the bottom, in a year and a half or 20 months, 2,700%. So again, you got to remind yourself that we're not going to go straight up forever. So that's my mindset on uranium. Dollar, still weak. Look at weekly EMA 12. Keep it simple. If weekly EMA 12 is resistance, the bulls aren't doing anything longer term. And we keep struggling at that level. We had a nice big bull move, but it's fading a bit. So again, when I make a statement like that, look at how easy my life is. I'm going to sit down and do analysis on the dollar. Weekly chart. Is anything shifting? No. Burden still on bulls. Bears still comfy, as long as that's the case. Moving on. Literally less than 60 seconds to do my analysis. Gold volatility is coming real soon. I've been saying that for a bit. It keeps tightening up, but this weekly equilibrium, again, just when's the last time gold has traded this long a period in this tight of a range? It's been a while. So I care most about 32.68 support, and this resistance is right there, so we're just going to go 34.52 resistance. We're right in the middle. Weekly EMA 12 has been our guide for a long time, and we keep holding it, and we're right there right now. Miners had a big move up. They're trying to lead the way. GDX, weekly EMA 12. Do I have to do anything in terms of shifting my mindset? Nope. Bull control. Leg up, hopefully leading the metals, but metals got to do it as well. Silver, weekly EMA 12 hold. If we confirm a weekly downtrend, I will be all out of silver, and I'll look for a monthly high or low entry, re-entry. But silver's been great for a long time, and that would be enough of a shift. When's the last time we confirmed a weekly downtrend? A lot of people would look at this and say, right here, nope. That was a sucker punch. We did not confirm a weekly lower high and lower low. The last time we've confirmed a weekly lower high and lower low was back here. So it hasn't happened this year. So if it happens, again, I'm in a bit more protective mode. If you told me you're not going to make another dollar for 2025, I'd say, great. It's been a great year. That's fine. I'm just not going to give back those profits. So that's now a key support for me. And we'll see if it holds or not. Still in a daily uptrend. Bull break, no follow through, but it's all about the weekly for me on silver. So miners saw another leg up. Gold break is coming, and we'll see how silver reacts as well. Oil, we were looking at a tightening weekly range on oil. Ooh, we broke bear. We knew the weekly lower high was the most likely scenario. I would have then expected to tighten up a bit, but we did break support by not much, but it is a bear break. So we go to the monthly. Monthly consolidation is underway. When's the last time oil has had a monthly uptrend with a clear higher low and higher high? And your answer on this futures contract is it has not happened since we topped out on the recovery from zero or negative. So we must set a monthly high or low and break that resistance. Again, the resistance from space. Anybody who knows anything about oil as a trader is looking at a long-term resistance zone that we have not gotten over in over a year and a half in the mid to upper 70s. If we're not breaking that, nothing is changing. If we set a monthly high or low and get over that level, it's going to be oil time. But bulls have to prove it. And at this point, retracement size is 50% plus. We may tighten up on the monthly for oil well into 2026. Natural gas, I haven't looked at in a while. Probably not. Yeah, gave it all back. Yeah, that's one of the proudest trades that I've had in 2025. First time trading natural gas in years. Got this weekly inverse head and shoulders, great entry, and then exited up here. And haven't looked back because bulls just lost all momentum. And we're back testing the lows, and it's weak. I don't care anything about natural gas. I mean, you can do a bottom fishing play if you want, but not for me. All right. Lots to unpack in this video. I appreciate you watching. Do good things. Check out the Sucker Punch webinar if you haven't. Go back and watch a couple weeks ago, anticipating the Sucker Punch was likely shaping up. And keep your eye out for that potential rotation. Glad to be back.